Jay-Z, the rap mogul synonymous with fame and fortune, has found himself entangled in one of the most perplexing legal standoffs in recent music history. On the surface, it looks like a classic case of accusations surfaced against a powerful celebrity. But dig deeper, and you'll discover a tangled web of conflicting stories, high-profile legal moves, and the fearsome possibility that someone might be lying, whether it's the accuser or the accused. Before you make up your mind, you'll want to hear all the details of a battle that's pitting one woman against a hip-hop legend. In late 2023, whispers about a lawsuit involving Jay-Z and an anonymous woman, known only as Jane Doe, spread like wildfire. It wasn't the first time the rapper-turned-entrepreneur had been associated with unsettling rumors. Over the years, fans and critics alike have pointed to questionable relationships, cryptic stories involving other artists, and uneasy secrets that never quite made their way into the mainstream. However, this time, the claims reached an entirely new level. Jane Doe's story was as disturbing as it was headline-grabbing. She insisted that Jay-Z had committed unthinkable acts against her when she was still under the age of consent. To make matters even more shocking, she also implicated Diddy, another giant in the hip-hop universe. In a single legal filing, these allegations threatened to upend the images both men had worked for decades to build. Some believed the accusations on site, pointing to a general sense of mystery that's always followed Jay-Z's personal life. Others quickly came to his defense, calling the story outlandish and unproven. While the allegations themselves carried enough weight to spawn social media frenzies and heated debates, the person leading the charge made the situation even more dramatic. Tony Busby, a name that rings bells in high-stakes litigation, signed on to represent Jane Doe. Busby had made headlines in the past for other high-profile suits, and he wasn't the type to shrink away from powerful opponents. His reputation? Relentless, bold, and unafraid to challenge celebrities. According to Busby, Jane Doe's story was compelling enough to bring to court, and he claimed to have vetted her account extensively with his team. From the jump, he portrayed the lawsuit as a crusade for justice, an effort to unveil wrongdoing hidden behind glitz and glamour. Critics, meanwhile, accused him of chasing headlines and dollars, suggesting he might be using Jay-Z's name to stir controversy and secure a hefty settlement. The next development in this roller coaster case caught nearly everyone off guard. Seemingly out of nowhere, Jane Doe decided to withdraw her lawsuit with prejudice. The phrase is significant. It means she can't refile the same claim later. In other words, once the suit is withdrawn with prejudice, the allegations remain off the table in a legal sense, at least in that particular court. For some, this was all the proof they needed to call the claims bogus. Why else drop a lawsuit, they asked. Jay-Z's defenders declared victory, insisting that the withdrawal confirmed his innocence and that the case was nothing more than a cash grab. Others, however, remained suspicious. They pointed out that Jane Doe might have felt intimidated by Jay-Z's massive legal resources and the enormous support he commands in the music industry. Could someone in her position really stand against that kind of power? But the story wasn't over. Far from it. Soon after the withdrawal, Jay-Z decided to go on the offensive. He filed a defamation lawsuit against Jane Doe and her legal team, alleging they had stained his reputation by peddling a fictitious narrative for monetary gain. Jay-Z's countersuit went a step further, claiming that these lawyers knew all along that the accusations had no factual basis. The language in his complaint was blistering, denouncing what he described as a soulless attempt to ruin his name. For a brief moment, public sentiment wavered. Some saw Jay-Z's countersuit as a righteous act, a billionaire musician fighting back against groundless smears. Others viewed it as an attempt to punish and silence a vulnerable individual. If Jane Doe genuinely believed her own story, then her recantation could have been driven by fear, not fraud. In the midst of these swirling debates, the case was about to enter its most confusing phase yet. One key event casting massive doubt on Jane Doe's story was an interview she gave to NBC. During that conversation, viewers couldn't help but notice apparent contradictions in her account. The timeline seemed off, her recollections clashed. With earlier statements, and the overall picture appeared jumbled. Even some who initially took her claims at face value started to ask questions. Did these inconsistencies prove she was fabricating the entire thing? Or could they be the result of trauma, misinformation, or mental health struggles? Every detail raised new questions. Skeptics argued that Tony Busby's team should have done a better job verifying the facts before filing such a serious claim. Busby countered that no matter how thoroughly you vet a case, there can always be complications, particularly if the plaintiff has health issues or a troubled past. Tony Busby, never one to hold back, responded to Jay-Z's defamation suit by reiterating a central point. Jane Doe never actually said her story was false. He claimed she pulled out of the lawsuit because of severe intimidation, not because she'd lied. According to Busby, Jay-Z's team had gone to extreme lengths to find Jane Doe, show up at her home, and pressure her into signing statements recanting her allegations. When she refused, the intimidation supposedly continued. Adding another layer of complexity, Busby revealed that Jay-Z's legal representatives had filed complaints against him personally, accusing him of extortion. They allegedly sought to dig up dirt on his former employees and clients, some from decades ago, in an attempt to discredit him. Busby painted a picture of a powerful camp using its influence to crush dissent before it could even make it into a courtroom. The case took on a life of its own online, with amateur detectives and celebrity watchers dissecting every scrap of information. Jay-Z's personal history fueled the speculation. Over the years, there had been strange stories, like the rumor about a young singer who was allegedly forced to sign a contract or jump out a window. Then there was chatter about Jay-Z's connections and the curious timeline of how certain female singers came under his tutelage. Some fans insisted these were all mere coincidences or overblown gossip, while others saw them as part of a larger pattern of secrecy and power dynamics in the industry. Across social media, a dividing line emerged: those who believed something dark was truly at play, and those who found the accusations either too jumbled or too lacking in hard evidence to be taken at face value. In the middle of it all, Jay-Z's countersuit pressed forward, casting an even bigger spotlight on the question of who was lying, who was telling the truth, and whether a settlement could resolve this fiasco. Beyond the he said, she said drama, this case raises tough questions for the music industry. What happens when an alleged victim decides to withdraw? Should that automatically be viewed as an admission the claims were false? And if it's not false, is a fear-driven withdrawal enough to deny the possibility of real wrongdoing? The industry has faced a rising wave of controversies in recent years. Artists called out for questionable pasts, managers accused of intimidation, and claims that entire networks protect powerful figures. Advocates say these allegations need thorough investigations, while critics counter that baseless lawsuits do more harm than good, undermining legitimate survivors' voices. Jay-Z's defamation suit could set a precedent that discourages future accusers if they worry about retaliation, or it could deter people from filing meritless claims in hopes of big paydays. Lost in the legal back and forth is the human toll. If Jane Doe genuinely experienced what she alleges, then her decision to walk away from the lawsuit could mean she'll never see justice. If, on the other hand, she fabricated or exaggerated her story, Jay-Z stands to be further vindicated, and her actions might discredit genuine survivors seeking help. Meanwhile, Tony Busby's reputation hangs in the balance as he faces accusations of pushing a so-called hopeless case. If there was any truth to Jane Doe's claims, was it overshadowed by poor legal strategy or overshadowed by extremely powerful forces? Jay-Z, though wealthy and respected, also risks ongoing damage to his brand, even if he's in the right. High-profile lawsuits have a way of tarnishing reputations, no matter the outcome. For now, the waters are murky. Both sides stand firm in their stories. Jane Doe has not publicly admitted to making anything up, yet she's no longer pursuing the matter in court. Jay-Z, meanwhile, has taken the offensive, determined to show the world this was all a sham orchestrated by opportunists, and Tony Busby remains defiant, insisting that no amount of legal muscle will force him or his client into submission. What truly happened? And who's telling the whole truth? Will more details surface in the coming weeks or months that finally clear the fog? The stage is set for more revelations, especially if Jay-Z continues to push his defamation claims, and if Busby counters with more evidence of alleged intimidation. Fans, critics, and curious onlookers can only watch and speculate for now. The Jay-Z saga is a potent reminder of how rapidly accusations can shape public perception, and how quickly counteractions can complicate the narrative. Whether you think this entire story is a ploy to tear down a star or an example of someone using wealth to stifle a frightened accuser, one fact remains. Everything about this case feels like a warning shot in the larger conversation around power, media, and accountability. At this point, no one outside the key players truly knows which version of events holds the most truth. Some, including Tony Busby, say the alleged intimidation campaign against Jane Doe is all too real. Jay-Z's camp insists these claims are twisted fabrications designed to sabotage a global icon's good name. Meanwhile, the public is left with countless questions, none of which can be answered until the dust finally settles in court or both sides decide to stand down. What do you believe actually happened? Could a star as famous and influential as Jay-Z be dragged into an outrageous lie and forced to defend himself for no reason? Or is there a chance that an intimidated accuser found it too daunting to face a music icon's legal armies? One thing's for sure, this case isn't just a shock for those who follow celebrity stories, it's a revealing lens into the power structures that rule Hollywood, hip-hop, and beyond. Stay alert, because the full truth behind these tangled accusations might still lie beneath the surface, waiting to be exposed, one revelation at a time. And with that, we leave you to ponder the mysteries and make your own judgments. Keep an eye on this situation. It's far from over, and as more information emerges, the course of public opinion could shift dramatically. In an age where a single lawsuit can spark a cultural firestorm, the Jay-Z legal saga remains both captivating and unsettling. Will justice prevail, or will the final chapter remain shrouded in doubt? Only time and the courts can give us that answer.